Hey, what's going on, everybody? So, it's true. I won first place in a tournament today using Crystal Beasts. Crystal Beasts are by far my favorite deck of all time, and a lot of people have been asking for a deck profile. So, here it is. For starters, I got 3 copies of Crystal Beast Sapphire Pegasus. Sapphire Pegasus is my favorite monster in the game, and he's the heart and soul of this deck. Whenever he's summoned, you get to go ahead and search Crystal Beast to your spawn trap card zone. Then I got 2 copies of Crystal Beast Topaz Tiger. Tiger gains 400 attack when he attacks a monster, so he can get over most things. 1 copy of Crystal Beast Amber Mammoth. You can switch attacks to him, but his effect doesn't really come into play most times. The real thing is he has 1700 attack points, which is actually 100 attack points more naturally than the Topaz Tiger, so if you're attacking direct, it can be useful to go with him. He's also got a 1600 defense, which is the biggest defense of the Crystal Beast I run, so that can be nice sometimes too. 2 copies of Crystal Beast Ruby Carbuncle. Ruby maybe... a lot of people argue that Ruby is a terrible card. Other people argue that she's the best card in the deck. I think she's the second best of the Crystal Beast, behind Pegasus. Lets you swarm up with lots and lots of crystals, but there's no way I'd ever run 3, and I've even considered going down to 1, and sometimes I'll side deck one of them out. 2 copies of Fire Hand and 2 copies of Ice Hand. These were huge. So the whole idea behind the deck is it's a rank 4 spam, with the Pegasus constantly giving you more rank or level 4 monsters, and themselves being level 4. So the Ice Hands and the Fire Hands fit in really nicely. They give you some extra monster destruction and spell and trap card destruction, and I can definitely say that without these guys I probably wouldn't have won today. 3 copies of Heroic Challenger Assault Halberd, kind of a Cyber Dragon effect. You can special summon this if your opponent controls a monster and you do not control any monsters, and he does breakthrough damage, and if he does battle damage you get to search a heroic from your deck to your hand. And then finally I've got 1 copy of Thousand Blades, which is another target for the Assault Halberd, and if you take battle damage, or if you take damage in general, once per turn you can special summon this from your graveyard, so this can become really useful with the hands where you start suiciding, your Ice Hand into a monster, you take 200 points of damage or something, you special summon this and the Fire Hand back, and then even if they don't have, whatever, after you're all done, you still have stuff you can overlay with and extend plays. 2 copies of Summoner Monk is the last of my monsters. With the exception of Ruby Carbuncle, all my monsters are level 4, so Summoner Monk is just really, really, really good in the deck. So that does it for monsters. On to the spells. We've got 2 copies of Ancient City Rainbow Ruins. Rainbow Ruins has a lot of different effects, from not being able to be destroyed to having damage, negating spells and traps, extra draw, and with 5 you can special summon Crystal Beast from the back row. So it's an amazing trap card, but I didn't want to run 3 of them. Instead I decided to go with 1 copy of Terraforming in place of the 3rd one, just because this gives me a little bit more search, gets me through my deck a little bit more. And 2 copies of Crystal Beacon. Crystal Beacon, if you got 2 Crystal Beasts in your spell and trap card zone, you can special summon a Crystal Beast from your deck, so that's just awesome. 1 copy of Crystal Promise, kind of like a Monster Reborn. You get your Crystal Beast from your spell and trap card zone and move them up to your monster card zone. 1 copy of Blessing. Can be really helpful to get Crystal Beasts back from your graveyard, especially if you exceed them, but it can get really cloggy, so I only want to play 1. 1 copy of Crystal Abundance. It's an OTK, but it's not essential to the way that I play the deck, so I only play 1. 2 copies of Ares Rock Sunrise. Monster Reborn for beast type monsters, so Pegasus, Topaz Tiger, and Amber Mammoth all fit the bill for Aries Rock Sunrise. 1 copy of Raigeki. 2 copies of Dark Hole. With such little support, and having such weak monsters, I really needed cards that were gonna just do a lot of destruction all at once, and so I decided to go with the full 2 Dark Holes and Raigeki. Dark Hole is really good for Crystal Beast as well because you can combo it with things like Pegasus to put more cards in your back row and then flood up onto a clear field. So, love Dark Hole. 2 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon. That does it for my spells. Don't really have anything to say about MST. You pretty much know why it's there. 2 copies of Breakthrough Skill. I needed monster effect negation, but I didn't want to run Fiendish Chain because it's going to clog up my spell and trap card zones, and I have Veilers in my side, as you'll see here in a minute, but I actually thought I was going to run into Cleafort today. I just had this feeling like I was going to run into a Cleafort deck today, and I was like, I'd rather have Breakthrough Skills in my main deck than... yeah, so that's that. 2 copies of Mirror Force. Once again, just like the Raigeki and Dark Holes, massive removal. 2 copies of Oasis of Dragon Souls. This lets you bring a special summon a monster from your graveyard back in defense mode, which can be really useful to get a hand back, to really stop your opponent from wanting to attack you, or you can bring a Pegasus back, which will bring another one to the back row, or even bring a Ruby back, which will special summon out all the Crystal Beasts. So just lots of good reasons to run Oasis of Dragon Souls. Also, I really like this because it removes itself from the board a little bit easier than like Call of the Haunted does. So, and then finally 1 copy of Vanity's Emptiness. Just stops the special summons because you need to do that sometimes, and it removes itself from the field fairly easily. Or it also can stay on the field fairly easily depending on how you want to play, because since your crystals go to the back row and don't go to the graveyard, Vanities can stay on the board a little bit longer, which caused some of my opponents a headache today, like Tellarknights. Extra deck. 1 copy of the Volval Chain, 1 Lightning Chidori, 1 Castell, 1 number 80 Rhapsody in Berserk. I gotta say, Rhapsody in Berserk was kind of my MVP of the day. 1 Kerrigorgon, Atlantea Luminescent Knight, 1 number 50 Black Ship of Corn, 1 number 101 Silent Honor Arc, 1 Gaga Cowboy. This is Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon, got one of them. Which, I'm just going to say this, I don't have my Diamond Crab King, and I really wanted to play Diamond Crab King in here today, but I didn't get one in time, so that's why I have Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon, but that would normally be a Diamond Crab. 1 Evil Storm Exciton Knight, 1 Levier the Sea Dragon, 1 Wind Up Zenmanes, 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Diamond Direwolf, and finally 1 Heartland Drago, who just causes so many headaches for people. Love my Heartland Drago. And then finally, my side deck today had 2 copies of Effect Veiler. Yeah, it's Veiler. It's really good. 2 copies of Chain Disappearance. I can't run the same kind of stuff that everybody else would as far as my side deck goes, because like I can't run Shadow Mirrors, I can't run Light Mirrors, because that'll just clog up my board and really stop me from making the plays I want to make. So I gotta play some kind of different side deck cards. So I chose Chain Disappearance because I was like, well, I can really screw up some Shadal and some BA players with Chain Disappearance, so I went with that. 2 copies of Max C. It's Max C. Really good. 2 copies of Lancia. 1 copy of Solemn Scolding. I can have a board with no set cards very, very easily. So Psalm Scored is no problem for me. 2 copies of Spell Shattering Arrow. As I mentioned earlier, I just had a feeling I was going to play Klee today, even though I didn't. But this did come in very handy, actually against Harpies. Being able to take out their field spell with it was very helpful. Didn't want to play Fairy Wind because I didn't want to nerf my own board and take away all of my Crystal Beasts. And take more damage for it. So yeah, that's why no Fairy Wind. 2 copies of Mind Crush. And then finally, 1 Ice and 1 Fire Hand in the side deck, just to tailor it a little bit more if I need a little bit more monster destruction or a little bit more back row destruction, and it would feed into my deck. So it was really helpful just to have a 3rd one of each of those. I didn't end up putting the 3rd Fire Hand in at all, but the 3rd Ice Hand did end up going in. And that definitely netted me a game win because they assumed that I only had 2 of each, and so all of a sudden the 3rd Ice Hand popped out and I went, crap. But anyway, that is my Crystal Beast deck profile. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave a feel free to leave a comment down below. And yeah, take it easy, guys.